In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade.
That's what we were told. Most Americans never believed Lee Oswald was the lone gunman, for excellent reasons. In fact, there were at least 6 shooters who fired from 8 to 10 shots or more who are identified here. We have, finally, the solution to the greatest murder mystery in history, laid out for the world to see, proof after proof after proof. Photos were faked, the body was changed, x-rays were altered, the home movies were fixed. 15 experts contribute to a 529-page book with 1,037 photos and diagrams in black and white and color.
Hi, this is Gary King. If you'd like JFK, who, how, and why, and would like to support the new JFK show, then go to patriotradiobooks.com. That's patriotradiobooks.com.
Welcome to the new JFK Show, number 188. Tonight, we're going to have Larry Rivera, Don Fox, Jim Fetzer, and myself. You wanted the documents. You're going to get the documents. You just wait and see. But before that...
Gary, we've got the documents.
We've got the documents. That's right.
we got the beef.
All right. Now, we have a book that's been carrying the flag for a long time around here at the JFK Show, and it's called this one. All right. Now, what I would like to do is show you this one. Just give me a second here. 1 second. And here's the one. Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah. All right. So I can tell you about the pictures myself. On the top, we have the motorcycle policeman, and that's all to do with the Newcomb tapes. We've got great research on the bottom. The middle right, with Jackie's glove, outlining JFK's wound. We've got Blender on the bottom doorway. We've got, you're going to have to tell me about the one in the middle left there, Larry.
Yeah, that's a blender image of the overhead view of Alton's position in relation to the motorcycle. I mean the 2 limos and the motorcycle.
Yeah, I see.
In other words, that's Elm Street going from east to west, and the little figure at the left, at bottom left, is actually Alton's in the street, based on the Blender 3D renderings.
There's a great image on the back cover too, Gary. We can show next time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the most honest JFK book with more just devastating information than any other book in recent memory. Besides, you know which one.
I just want to say that with the book, one of the best chapters, one of the ones that I love the most.
It's going to be this one right here.
No, it has to be the Beverly Brunson chapter, okay? Because her research and what she did in just a couple of years, from 1967 to 69, it's just mind-boggling. What she did with the little available evidence. Not having the Zapruder film available. It's just incredible what she was able to accomplish.
I'm a Beverly Brunson fan. Let me tell you that right now. She had it all together.
And Gary, she needs to take her place among JFK great researchers.
Absolutely, and your book's going to help that along.
Because all the research. Let me just say this: of all the researchers, of the first generation, second, not a single one ever went through what she did, where she was kidnapped and almost killed. All right, because of what she knew and what she was uncovering. So, you're gonna be able to read about that in the book.
Yeah, gotta have it in the book. So, all right, Larry's got some document stuff for us tonight, so we're gonna do that. So,
Want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead. So Jim, why should they get the JFK book? Who, how, and why?
Well, put it together with Larry's, you're going to have 95% of all there is to know about JFK.
Simple as that.
It's right to the point. Well, the new documents, and this is what I was talking about at the conference. We keep getting all this hogwash that you're not going to find any smoking guns, in the new documents, right, Jim?
Yeah.
And all those documents are redacted. And I keep saying, and I counted how many documents have been released since July of last year. And we're up to 39,000, close to 39,000 documents. And a lot of these documents contain multiple pages, some upwards of 500, 600, 800 pages. And as I have been saying all along for a long time since these documents came out, that they are not searchable. These are PDFs that are not searchable. And
deliberately.
Yeah, well, so you have to go page by page, and you have to open up each document. And even though there's an index at the archives, you still have to go page by page by page and identify what's in those documents. And sometimes it's a very difficult task. People run into all these documents that are contain heavy redactions, okay, and they give up. But you can't do that. This is primary source material that we're looking at here. And there are a lot of very significant documents that have been released. And as I spoke at the conference, this is a big giant puzzle, all right? And we have so many parts of the puzzle already in place. And these have been being developed, since day one, since after the assassination, from the first generation researchers, and authors, all the way through second generation and now third generation or whatever. However, you have that now with these documents, we are able to place more of the pieces in the puzzle and create a much more cohesive a view of what happened. Because for example, and I've said this before, a lot of these authors wrote their books, and they had, a limited amount of data and primary source material. Okay, so they did their book, they wrote their books, but now in view of the new documents that are being released, you have to go back and reevaluate what's in those books, okay? And this is exactly what's going on right now with the new documents. And like I said, you just have to roll up your sleeves and, dive right into them, and this first one that I'm bringing out.
Well, look at this, Larry. This is just 10 days before the assassination.
Thank you. And look who's in. Look who are the people involved, the players involved in this meeting, and what are they talking about? Policy regarding Cuba.
Yeah.
All right. In attendance, the president, Secretary McNamara, Secretary Dean Rusk, Secretary Gilpatrick, the attorney general. Notice that they don't mention the president by name or his brother. Okay, everybody else is mentioned by name except those two. I don't know what kind of what you can interpret by that, but it's kind of weird. Shackley, McCone. I mean, these are the real players. Who were running the covert operations at the time. And they're trying to convince the president and the attorney general, that this is the way to go. Okay,
that's some spot-on intelligence they had there.
Yeah.
Certainly was losing its grip.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Isn't that a lot of crap? Isn't that bizarre? Because that is totally the opposite of what was really going on. Do you think that in November of 1963, Castro was losing his grip on Cuba? Totally
ridiculous.
We're over here in 2018, and they still have grip. What his brother does.
Yeah, the military remained essentially loyal to Castro with some evidence of dissension and this is total disinformation that they are feeding the president. And now we know that all this information that's coming out in this meeting is false. You want to go ahead, Jim, and talk about some of this stuff here?
Well, it's pretty interesting, Larry. You want me to read one? Cuba still belongs to Castro, though his grip is weakening. Right. Two, the military remains essentially loyal to Castro with some evidences of dissension and dissident by the CIA. Well, maybe. No doubt the military is loyal to Castro. Three, the internal security forces and apparatus are effective and show evidence of increasing efficiency. That appears to be accurate. Four, the economy is bad and is deteriorating, causing increasing hardships to the civilian population. This is due to economic sanctions in Florida.
That's true. I believe that to be true because of the embargo.
Because by the United States, the embargo.
Of course, that's obvious.
Five, the Soviets are continuing a gradual withdrawal. No organized Soviet unions appear in Cuba, though they apparently provide principal mannings for the SAMs, surface-to-air missiles, of course. There are recent evidences of considerable rotation, with between 1,000 and 2,000 new arrivals, but in balance there is a decrease. That sounds accurate too. Six, training of Cubans continues on all Soviet equipment, including the SAMs. It's not clear whether the SAMs will be turned over to full Cuban control. However, it is clear Cubans will supply the majority of operating personnel. Seven, the only equipment which has been withdrawn has been the advanced C-band radar for the SAMs and certain communication equipment. No military equipment has been withdrawn. There have been some recent arrivals of military equipment, particularly 25 and 50 tanks. McCone then stated that the program, which had been followed for the last several months, having been approved about the 1st of June, was integrated and independent, one part of the other, and therefore should be considered as a comprehensive program and not a number of independent actions.
I just want to interject here. Now, this is what you're going to see here is like a tag team presentation. Now Desmond Fitzgerald is who they're talking about here, and he's going to do his presentation. And as we know, we can see here McCone is part of this whole thing. And they're trying to convince the president, of this whole operation. And some of the ideas that come out here are just so incredibly disgusting, they're just violent and revolting in my mind, this, which is one of the reasons why, I believe President Kennedy, and coming out of one of these meetings, he when they were talking about preemptive nuclear strikes against the Soviets, he said, and we call ourselves a human race.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they're talking about strangling the economy and having dissent and causing as much problem. Thanks a lot, Fitzgerald.
Yeah. Okay. Go. Sabotage. McCone stated that no one would. I mean, this is sobering here because he's apparently he's telling the truth. Would it particularly affect the economy? Don't forget that Cuba maintained diplomatic and economic ties to Mexico, Spain, European countries.
Given all the obstacles we threw in his way, it's really heroic that Castro survived and retained the loyalty of the Cuban people. I mean, that says something. No wonder the United States was so despised and reviled.
And Jim, it says a lot more about the misinformation that the American public were fed about what was going on in Cuba, because they were saying, "Oh, there's shortages of this and that and whatever," and the embargo, is killing them, and it seems like that wasn't really the case.
With respect to sabotage, McCone stated that no one event will particularly affect the economy. However, a continuous program will have its effects on the economy and will encourage internal sabotage by dissident people within Cuba. There have been 109 events since April, which were probably internally inspired sabotage. The president then raised the question of the sabotage program, whether it was worthwhile and whether it would accomplish our purpose.
See his concern, the president.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
When they're talking about this, are they talking like blowing up milk plants and burning fields and stuff like that?
No, he's talking about, for example, electrical grids and power infrastructure, oil and gas and stuff like that, which is, transportation, rail, and stuff like that. I mean, obviously in any war, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take out the transportation.
Railway, yeah.
Secretary Russ then spoke at considerable length, the thrust of his remarks being opposed to sabotage. He stated we should concentrate on obtaining information as to what Castro is doing with respect to other countries, particularly sending arms to Latin American countries. Russ said we must replace Castro. We must accomplish a reduction in Soviet troops. However, sabotage might result in an increase in troops. Rusk had no problem with infiltration of black teams. Furthermore, internal sabotage gave him no problem, and the more of this, the better. In addition, he strongly supported our economic efforts. However, he opposed the hit-and-run sabotage tactics as being unproductive, complicating our relationships with the Soviets and also with our friends, and indicated a connection between our sabotage activities and the Autobahn problem. McCone observed that infiltration was difficult, internal sabotage was extremely difficult to stimulate, but that external hit-and-run sabotage had the effect of automatically stimulating internal sabotage. McNamara could see no connection between Cuban operations and the Berlin Autobahn incidents. He saw many advantages to going ahead, which he advocated, but ordered a careful watch. The president asked questions concerning immediate. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Again, the president is completely involved in this, asking questions and wanting to find out more about, all these positions, that all these reports are they're just throwing at him, in a way that he's being overwhelmed as far as I'm concerned here. He's asking questions concerning the immediate operations, and the next one on the schedule was approved. All right. And, it's, like I said, Fitzgerald, Desmond explained the independent operations of the Artime group. Artime is Manuel Artime, that doctor who was running sorties out of the Central America and Puerto Rico. Okay, as we have seen before, that Artime had very close ties to Skewer One. Remember, we talked about Skewer One a couple of programs ago, and we found out that he was actually the former governor of Puerto Rico, Luis Ferre. And this Manuel Artime was a major player in the counter-revolutionary operations trying to take out Castro. And like I said, he was very, very important because they even considered him as a replacement of Castro in the event that Castro was overthrown. So this is all really interesting here that what we're talking about here. We
talked about events might take place that were not exactly to our liking. Of course,
that's right.
The whole idea of managing the world to make it to our liking is, in my opinion, disgusting and disrespectful and violative of the principles that ought to obtain between sovereign nations.
And what that says, Jim, is that there were a lot of loose cannons, in this Cuban. Don't forget that you had a mosaic of different anti-Castro organizations. All right, and they were so fragmented that that's probably one of the reasons why Castro was never overthrown, because you had so many different groups that had different interests. Okay, you had the DRE, you had HURA, you had MIRR, you had Alpha 66, you had CRC, and on. So what are the
great Satan looming over their head, namely the United States. What decent Cuban is going to support the United States and sabotage over Fidel Castro in Cuba?
Yeah, and one of the major problems that the CIA encountered was how to bring all these groups together for one common purpose, one form of
not going to happen. They all had their own agenda.
And it never happened. Exactly. So these are notes here. I wanted to go down because here we go. Minutes, the Cuban program. Here again, the president, and I believe we have a date here, 14th of November of 63. This is 2 days later, okay? And look at the players here. Look at the players. It's like the president, Secretary of State Russ, McNamara, Attorney General Kennedy, Director of CIA McCone, Roswell Kilpatrick, Cyrus Vance. He must have been a very young Cyrus Vance at the time, right?
Yeah, he was an assistant secretary of state, I think, at the time.
Yeah, McGeorge Bundy.
He was, of course, the president's personal assistant, and Maxwell Taylor, I believe, was then the national security advisor.
Yes, he was one. He was one of the Joint Chiefs, correct?
I think actually. Was Maxwell Taylor the head of the? I don't see anyone else in that role. He could have been, actually. He could have been at that point.
Yeah, I think he was Joint Chiefs. And then Alexis Johnson, I know he was Richard Helms, Desmond Fitzgerald, Bruce B. Cheever, Shackley, Paul Echo, Now,
CIA guys.
Yeah, okay, this is November the 12th. Okay, and open the meeting with a brief resume.
This is the same points.
Yeah, yes, okay. That's right, same points. Now,
yeah, once again, it just said the president. And
right.
Well, it did say Attorney General Kennedy, though.
Yeah, this time at least they.
So, I think it was NSAM 273 where somebody or other was meeting after the assassination who said met with the president about Vietnam. They didn't say who the president was.
So maybe this was in a way anticipating by not mentioning his name specifically, the transition from Kennedy to Johnson.
Could be, yeah.
Okay, go.
Yeah, here's talking about
yeah.
agents and sub-agents, in Cuba.
6-pointed integrated program against Cuba.
Where?
Including a covert collection of intel for U.S. strategic requirements as well as for operational. This element of the program is progressing satisfactorily at the present time. We have 74 singleton agents reporting directly to us. In addition, there are 79 identified sub-agents who are part of organized nets. All these agents and sub-agents legally reside in Cuba. There's one black illegal team successfully operating in the Pinar del Rio area. It has 55 sub-agents in its net. The geographical distribution of agents throughout Cuba has continued to improve. In addition to the above resident agents, we have 19 successful penetrations of Cuban official installations abroad. The Cuban counterintelligence efforts have intensified during the past month. Our losses have increased, meaning they're taking out some of our players.
Yeah.
It's particularly true with regard to the black teams. The Cuban control system and ration system make the team's continued existence more and more precarious. We have had to withdraw some teams and we've lost others. In view of this experience, we expect to reduce the number of black team infiltration operations, but to continue to press forward with other types. Propaganda actions to stimulate low-risk, simple sabotage and other forms of active and passive resistance. This program includes both mailing and radio operation. Approximately 30 to 40,000 pieces of propaganda are mailed into Cuba every month, nearly rivaling the amount of propaganda disseminated within the United States today. There are 32 hours daily of radio programs using 7 different radio stations. Radio America on Swan Island broadcasts 13 hours daily. Separate radio programs are key to all significant target groups within Cuba: students, teachers, labor, military leaders. We believe the propaganda effort, combined with the other parts of the integrated overall program, stimulated sabotage and resistance. We have intelligence reports citing 109 instances since 1 April 1963. These include such things as derailing locomotives, destroying high-tension trucks and factories. Many have been similar to ideas included in our broadcasts and mailing. There appears to have been a slight upturn in instances of sabotage in recent weeks. This all I find very distressing, Larry.
It's just disgusting how they, like Kennedy said, they act like they're 7-year-old children playing spy, but they have all the money in the world, and it just.
Why don't you pick out the key parts, Larry?
It's what I was saying earlier. The goal here was to attack the infrastructure, and make it miserable for Cubans in Cuba, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's supposed to provoke an uprising against Castro, though that were a viable option or would happen under any circumstance.
And the details here are just incredible, Jim, because you're talking about, real specific details of how they're going about, doing this. All right. And this is like I said, this is all, general sabotage and harassment. Okay. Don't forget, that there were radio.
Okay. Let's go into some of this. Since the approval of the program's 4 successful externally mounted sabotage operations have been mounted: Santa Lucia, Sasilda Los
Isabela.
Ko Gun. 3 additional were ready to go, but at the last minute were recalled. A chart was shown identifying the proposed targets through January 1964. This includes the Mantaz electric plant and the Santiago de Cuba refinery. It was pointed out that with but few exceptions, the economic results for any single sabotage operation are only significant for the cumulative economic effect, plus a psychological effect in stimulating more.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, all of this stuff to us every day. Don't you see all this propaganda just intensified by a million, but they're doing it to us?
Yeah. We're being subjected to all these propaganda programs today now and have since the nullification of the Smith-Mundt Act. It's just disgusting what's going on here in the United States.
And the amount of money that was poured into this operation, Jim, is just incredible. If you look at the
imagine the money today being pumped into propaganda our butts.
That's right. And then, you know, by and large, this whole thing here is just telling the president, you know, and he's probably, you know, just, you know, shaking his head, you know, and going, wow, you know, these guys, you know, and then look who writes this, Cheever here. And here's another one on 4 November, which went a little further back. Now, this is the one I wanted to talk about because this one is really mind-boggling. This is by Philip Buchan, and this is this was came out in 1975. And look at the what's covered in this document.
Anti-Castro activities, assassinations, foreign leaders, Bay of Pigs, Caribbean Survey Group, CIA, clandestine operations, Cuban exiles, Dulles Allens, Edward Sheffield, FBI, Hoover, J. Edgar Kennedy, John Kennedy, Robert Lansdale, Edward McCone, John NSC, Operation Mongoose, organized crime.
I've never seen a document that covered, you know, with such an alphabet soup of
interesting. This is the core of the deep state right there.
Yeah, how about number 2 there? Assassination of foreign leaders.
Right.
Like, no big deal.
Of course. Business as usual, huh, Gary?
Just another day.
Okay, here we go. This is the one I really wanted to get to. The first one was sort of like a segue into this because this is the one that's going to blow you guys away here.
We can recruit Don to do some reading too here.
Yeah.
Hey, Don, you going to read for us?
Okay, I was I went back to my trusty book from Fletcher Prouty, and I was trying to track down this reference to the president.
Yeah.
And I believe I found it.
Tell us.
Okay, so it was Prouty was talking about the Pentagon Papers and Henry Cabot Lodge.
Yeah.
And so there was that strange meeting where the whole cabinet went to Honolulu.
Yeah.
And Prouty was writing about, well, why did they go there? Then why did people go to Tokyo after that? Just keep in mind, even the Secretary of Agriculture and the Secretary of Commerce have been involved in that excursion to Tokyo via Honolulu. And in considering these strange visits, which are cataloged in an official Defense Department summary of the war record, think carefully about this quote fragment. After Lodge had confirmed with the president, or after Lodge had conferred with the president a few days later in Washington. What a strange way 5 years later, 1968, when the Pentagon Papers were written, for the study task force to make the transition from the Kennedy administration to the Johnson era. Lodge had left for Honolulu on November 22nd, the same day JFK was killed. An entry in the Pentagon Papers states, 22 November 1963, Lodge confers with the president.
Yeah.
Having flown to Washington the day after the conference, Lodge meets with the president and presumably continues this kind of report given in Honolulu.
Well, Lodge, of course, was betraying the president in Vietnam, going ahead with the assassination of the Diem brothers over JFK's opposition.
Yeah, but the president isn't the same guy.
At this point in time, yeah.
Yeah, he met with the president when it was Kennedy, and then he met again with the president
when it was Johnson.
Yeah.
Well,
You want to see some of this, Don, or shall I?
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, real quick. How much of this did Kennedy know about? Didn't he approve?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about now, Gary. Don't jump the gun, brother.
Okay.
Castro, as set forth in detail elsewhere, the Central Intelligence Agency was involved in assassination plots against Fidel Castro beginning as early as late 59 or 60. These plans arose at approximately the same time as preparations were underway for the Bay of Pigs. The plans involved a number of bizarre schemes and, in at least one instance, it involved some contact with organized criminal elements. Among the means considered were poison, botulism pills, and the use of Cuban exile groups. There is evidence to indicate that Allen Dulles was aware of these early efforts to develop plans to assassinate Castro and authorize them.
Of course.
It is unclear whether other officials of the Eisenhower-Kennedy administration were aware of these early plans.
That's the answer to your question, Gary.
Beautiful.
It's unclear, meaning they didn't know. They kept him in the dark.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, well, look, let's take a quick break. JFK Show number 188. We'll be right back.
Getting good.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade.
That's what we were told. Most Americans never believed Lee Oswald was the lone gunman, for excellent reasons. In fact, there were at least 6 shooters who fired from 8 to 10 shots or more who are identified here. We have, finally, the solution to the greatest murder mystery in history, laid out for the world to see, proof after proof after proof. Photos were faked, the body was changed, x-rays were altered, the home movies were fixed. 15 experts contribute to a 529-page book with 1,037 photos and diagrams in black and white and color.
Hi, this is Gary King. If you'd like JFK, who, how, and why, and would like to support the new JFK show, then go to patriotradiobooks.com. That's patriotradiobooks.com.
All right, welcome back to the new JFK Show number 188. All right, let's get right back to these documents. Larry, you're just killing it once again. Go ahead.
The Bay of Pigs operation occurred between April 17th and April 19th, 1961. Following that unsuccessful operation, President Kennedy directed Maxwell Taylor, Robert Kennedy, Arleigh Burke, and Allen Dulles to study our governmental practices and programs in the area of military and paramilitary guerrilla and anti-guerrilla activity, which fell short of outright war, paying special attention to the lessons which could be learned from the Bay of Pigs operation.
That's a great point right there, Jim. I think Kennedy is, he's very concerned, okay, and he knows that outright war against Cuba is going to bring out a reaction from the Soviet Union, and it could completely obliterate the entire country. So.
I think he also appreciated by this point in time that he'd been played by the CIA and kept in the dark. Everyone else knew, for example, that the Soviet Union had learned the date of the invasion and informed Castro, which the CIA knew, but they didn't inform the commander-in-chief.
Yeah. And of course.
During the course of the Taylor Group's review of the Bay of Pigs op, the FBI notified Robert Kennedy in a memorandum dated 22 May 1961
that it had been advised by Sheffield Edwards,
CIA Director of Security of Agency contacts with Robert Mayhew and Sam Giancana with respect to anti-Castro activity, clandestine efforts in Cuba, and CIA's clandestine efforts against the Castro government. Mr. Edwards advised the FBI that since this is dirty business, he could not afford to have knowledge of the actions of Mayhew and Giancana in pursuit of any mission for CIA. FBI memorandum added that, quote, Colonel Edwards advised that only Bissell, Deputy Director of Planned CIA, and 2 others in CIA were aware of the Giancana Mayhew activity on behalf of CIA's program, and that Allen Dulles was completely unaware of Edwards' contact with Mayhew in this connection. He added that Mr. Bissell, during his recent briefings of General Taylor and the Attorney General in connection with their inquiries into CIA relating to the Cuban situation, told the Attorney General that some of the CIA's associated planning included the use of Giancana and the underworld against Canada.
Just a comment here. You know, you're getting so much more detail here, Jim, of the nexus. You know, that the interconnection between the organized crime and the CIA and this whole situation of trying to get rid of Castro. Where, like I said before, other books have been published. You know, that did not have access to this material. You know, so you know, again, a lot of this information has to be rethought. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, you get a lot of new information here.
And this is still prior to the assassination of JFK.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Don, go ahead. Why don't you pick up, Don, with "It should be noted." You got to unmute.
Yeah, it would help if I unmuted myself, yes. It should be noted that Mr. Edwards and Lawrence Houston, then General Counsel of the CIA, briefed Mr. Kennedy again almost a year later on May 7th, 1962, on the agency's contacts with the mafia. Beginning, in August and September 1960 concerning Castro. This briefing was apparently initiated by the CIA. The relationship with Sam Giancana was discussed in detail. There is no indication that the Attorney General mentioned either the May 1961 memorandum from the FBI or the briefing he and General Taylor had received a year earlier from Mr. Bissell. Mr. Edwards has stated that Mr. Kennedy did not disapprove of any of the actions taken in the past. Mr. Houston testified that, quote, "We went down to brief Mr. Kennedy on the full story that the CIA had set up a project with its aim, the demise of Castro, that the project had fallen through, that these following people were involved, and we gave them the names, and this is what made him unhappy, because at the time, he felt he was making a very strong drive to try to get after the mafia. And so his comment to us was, if we were going to get involved with the mafia in the future at any time, to make sure you see me first."
Yes.
What do you think that means?
He was rather pissed off because Bobby was cracking down on organized crime for the first time in U.S. history with many indictments and convictions. And he was really pissed that they were going behind his back and working with the mafia to take out Cuba. This was a real major issue for Bobby.
Yeah, and don't forget that we also know that Joe Kennedy had recruited, you know, the mafia, you know, to help elect JFK, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, real quick, we're talking about Bissell, Richard Bissell, in the book Who's Who in JFK. And we'll just read you a little bit about
fired. He got fired after the Bay of Pigs with Allen Dulles and Cabell.
Yeah. So CIA agent, father of the U2 program with Shyfield Edwards. Bissell was the top planner of the CIA mafia assassination plots against Castro. Both Bissell and Edwards have testified that they were ordered to develop these plots by CIA Director Allen Dulles, and they were and Deputy CIA Director Charles Cabell, the brother of Dallas Mayor. According to the USA Senate Intelligence Report, the foreign assassinations Bissell with Edwards initiated recruitment under world figures for the Castro hit in August of 1960. They were all fired by John F. Kennedy, along with Allen Dulles, Cabell, Bissell, and those three, and Edwards. So there's a little bit about Bissell.
Yeah, let's move on here to point 5 because I want to get to page 16.
5.
Okay, so yeah, point 5. The record of actions of the National Security Council meeting of April 29, 1961, quote, noted the president's request, unquote, that the, quote, defense study of the military training of Cubans, unquote, be coordinated with, quote, further proposals from the Department of State with respect to the broader aspects of the Cuban problem, unquote. On May 4th, a series of papers captioned, quote, Cuba and Communism in the Hemisphere, unquote, were circulated to the NSC members, President Kennedy, well, there they mention him by name, Vice President Johnson, Dean Rusk, and Robert McNamara, as well as Secretary of the Treasury, the Director of the Bureau of the Budget, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Director of Central Intelligence. The papers made the following points. There is no sure way of overthrowing Castro short of U.S. military intervention.
That's right.
There is a possibility, although a slight possibility, that lesser measures, covert and overt, might result in the overthrow of the Castro regime from within.
Wrong.
Yeah, has that ever worked anywhere? No.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. They still do it.
As long as Castro thrives, his major threat, the example and stimulus of a working communist revolution, will persist. And quote, the cost of eliminating Castro by military intervention would be substantial at the present time and under present circumstances. These costs might include significant loss of life and other casualties and would severely endanger the U.S. position of leadership in the free world. It is our judgment that these costs outweigh the advantages of intervention, unquote.
What a statement that was, huh?
That's incredible stuff there.
Well, see, now I think that point that's the one that seems to have held up over time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
So there maybe we got a little grain of truth out of all this.
But at the same time,
yeah, right.
At the same time, you have the dichotomy here of where you have them supporting the anti-Castro groups and still trying to take out Castro when they knew that it couldn't work, that it wasn't going to work. Outside of full military intervention. So it's sort of like piecemeal, kind of situation here that they're trying to appease, the Cubans, and at the same time they know that it's not going to happen. So, Jim?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. In view of these considerations, it is recommended the recommendation of the task force that number one, we should not undertake military intervention now. Number two, we should make no statements or take no action that would foreclose the possibility of military intervention in the future. 3, we should work to reduce the Castro threat through measures discussed in the balance of this paper, thus seeking to avoid the need for more drastic and costly action at some time in the future. Number 4, we should attempt to reduce the cost of intervention should it become necessary. There's not a great deal what the United States by itself can do along these lines as a matter of deliberate policy. We can, however, plan for various contingencies so that intervention will be sufficient and more effective. We should strive to develop a credible doctrine based on self-defense against indirect aggression, which should justify more drastic action, and we should seek to have that doctrine generally accepted by world opinion. At the same time, we should seek to continue our efforts to establish a multilateral base for action. This whole thing here is just
crank up the Cold War. Sounds like what they were trying to do.
The survival of the Castro regime would probably not in itself pose a direct threat to the immediate security of the U.S. They're admitting it right here, Yeah. However, the continued existence of the regime would, however, fundamentally alter the terms of Latin American relations with the U.S. U.S. restraint in allowing the regime to survive. This is talking about the domino theory, right? Would it be interpreted
in Latin America?
Right. It's export, which is what we've always been taught, that Castro was trying to export the revolution to other Latin American countries. So, and basically, this whole report here is so incredibly detailed and giving you, the truth about how the government really felt about Cuba. Don't
go past this last paragraph here, Aline. The overwhelming majority of anti-Castro exiles in this country hope for an early overthrow of the Castro regime.
Yes.
The exiles feel and believe this is realizable. Thus, they are prepared, each on his own level, to contribute to and participate in actions necessary to achieve the objective for a free democratic Cuba, which would mean their return to the island. Most of these Cubans are convinced that U.S. leadership and active participation in the struggle are essential for success. Therefore, they can be expected to follow and support the U.S. in any venture promising an early elimination of Castro. Direct contacts with invasion survivors and other routinees indicate there is disappointment, hurt, and uncertainty as to why the U.S. did not come to the aid of the freedom fighters. However, there's no question that these personnel are prepared and anxious to continue the fight in partnership with the U.S. exiled political leaders are also anxious to continue to press the crusade.
That's a great catch, Jim. I think this is, it tells you what really was going on, with the Cuban exile community, where they expected, Kennedy to intervene. And at the end of the day, when Kennedy did not, and they blamed him. I met growing up, I met so many Cubans in Puerto Rico who were so pissed off at Kennedy, and they blamed Kennedy for abandoning, Cuba and not supporting the invasion.
And they feel that way to this day, do they not?
That's right.
There's an intensity in their emotion to this very day you wouldn't believe more than 50 years after his death.
That's right. And it's just incredible here, that they continue to have that feeling here. Now, the May for, do we have time to, because I wanted to get down to.
Got about 15 minutes left, it looks like.
Okay. I want to get down to page 16 here because.
Yeah, just one point I would make is that, okay, everyone was afraid about Castro spreading communism. Well, Castro was Jewish.
Yeah.
And communism is Jewish.
Don't tell me, Don.
Yes, and communism is a Jewish construct. And what happened in the United States? Okay, Castro did not get removed. Kennedy did get removed, and they put a Jew in his place.
Don, what's important is that Castro was a great leader of the nation of Cuba. He was a nationalist. He wanted to use Cuban resources to benefit the Cuban people. That's why he was a problem for the U.S. We wanted to use Cuban resources to benefit American and international corporations. There was the rub.
Yeah, a captive market.
Same thing.
Here they're giving a payoff list there for people at different levels of corruption.
Yeah, this
Operation
Bounty for delivering, killing or delivering a live known communist.
Yeah, and with a bounty. See here, with a bounty on there.
Block leader, department head, foreign communist, 97 grand. Hey, but there's a low price too. It depends on how much of a foreign communist they are.
The Castro thing was supposed to be humorous too, Seth.
Of course. Okay. And this is where this really gets good here, because you guys are not going to believe, what we're going to read here in a minute. Okay. The action plan concluded that once this operation is implemented, covert actions by U.S. agents could be initiated to kidnap known party members, thereby instilling confidence in the operation among the Cuban populace and apprehension among.
Are you kidding me? And still confidence among the Cuban? They'd be appalled.
Okay.
On February 10th, 20th, 1962, General Lansdale, who many of us believe, positioned the shooters and determined the sequence of shots in Dealey Plaza mine.
And who Fletcher Prouty identified, as being in Dealey Plaza in one of the photos.
Right. Distributed to the president, the special group augmented a program review on the Cuba project. The action plan included a proposal to be implemented in September 1962 for an attack on the cadre of the regime, including key leaders. The considerations listed with respect to this proposal were stated as follows. There should be a special target operations. EI defector operations are vital. Gangster elements might provide the best recruitment potential for actions against police. G2 officials, block technicians should be added to the list of targets. CW agents, that's chemical warfare, should be fully considered.
That's right.
Jesus Christ, man. My God.
It gets better. On
March 5th, 1960, the special group augmented men and deemed Russoff, as General Lansdale sent a memorandum to Richard Goodwin in the next day stating that at the March 5th meeting chaired by Secretary Rusk on our favorite subject. The Secretary spoke of other tracks which might be open for the U.S. to achieve its objective. He mentioned proof of their plots in Latin America as an example. Also, there was a joking reference to a Bay of Pigs in perhaps Guatemala as a national clandestine action for which they could be blamed. In other words, blame Cuba for attacking Guatemala. The memorandum added along these same lines, and in response to direction, I'm asking the defense representative, General Craig, to give me a brief but precise description of pretext which the JSC believed desirable if a decision is ultimately made to use, taking a deep breath, direct military intervention. I would appreciate it if you could provide a companion statement, a brief but precise description of pretext which a State Department believes desirable in connection with any such direct military intervention so we can fabricate them.
Man, it's just these guys on steroids.
This is absolutely classic. I mean, this is a primer on how they do this abroad to this very day.
Yeah, but they're on steroids today.
That's right.
It gets better.
Back at John's.
Believe it or not, it gets better.
Minutes of the March 5th, 1962 Special Group Augmented Meeting state that Mr. Johnson, Alexis Johnson, was asked to have a list prepared of various situations that would serve as plausible context for intervention. The words would and plausible context are bracketed in pencil in the minutes, and the words could and valid basis are printed beneath them in pencil. On March 13th, the Defense Department provided a status report to this Special Group Augmented. It contained the following: Task 33B, plan for incapacitation of sugar workers, completed 2 February. Task as assigned was to develop a plan for incapacitate large sections of the sugar workers by the covert use of BW, that's biological warfare, or CW, chemical warfare agents. Study revealed the idea was infeasible and it was canceled. Well,
What was that? What was that?
that's just god awful.
Biological and chemical agents to incapacitate. You know how many sugar workers were working in Cuba at the time?
This is just god awful, Larry. It's like it would be wiping out all the agricultural workers in Southern California.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, you know, they define BW and CW in the next sentence here.
Right, of course. The minutes of the April 11th, 1962 meeting state that the Secretary of State said that at the time he could see no way at which an organized invasion of Cuba could be justified. On the other hand, this should not be taken as an excuse to cease activity against the Castro regime. So look how late they're still going after Castro. I mean, he's supported by the Secretary of Defense, took the position, play for the breaks, and should take necessary steps so as to get into a position which would afford the U.S. a maximum number of choices of action. In this connection, he and Mr. McNamara suggested the current target date for bringing covert operations to a climax should be removed. Mr. Bundy cautioned this could lead to an uncontrollable action internally, which might come to a head at a time which would be embarrassing or inconvenient for the U.S. On April 12, 62, Lansdale forwarded to Maxwell Taylor an advance copy of the Joint Chiefs paper on pretext, saying, I'm informed that the chiefs approved of this. The paper captioned, Justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. TS set forth 9 pretexts.
But Jim, let's define who were the Joint Chiefs at the time. You know, Lemnitzer, LeMay. You know, these
fanatics. They were right-wing fanatics who wanted to bomb the Soviet Union.
and look at, you know, they're not even identified here. You know, the Joint Chiefs right here is just like, you know, an invisible entity here. You know. But
I want to get Don back involved here. Don, pick up. These included.
Okay, let's see where. Okay, these included. Well, we could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. The terror campaign could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated.
What?
This is Northwoods. This is Northwoods. This is
exactly.
all Northwoods.
Exactly.
We could foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding and instances to be widely publicized. Exploding a few plastic bombs in carefully chosen spots, the arrest of a Cuban agent, and the release of prepared documents substantiating Cuban involvement also would be helpful in projecting the idea of an irresponsible government.
Oh, man. Jim, we need to comment on this last paragraph.
Well, it's just part and parcel of, you know, these are classic false flag operations. You know, I mean, you do it deliberately blaming it on the bad guy and then taking action against him as though he were responsible. It's just like this poisoning in the UK, which the Russians had nothing to do with, I had no doubt, where Theresa May is making it out that this could only have been done by the Russians when it turns out you could make it up in your garage with relatively accessible chemicals. The whole thing is just a total fabrication attempt.
And look at how nonchalant, they state this. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, Well, heck, shoot down a couple of airliners, what the hell,
That's right. The fact that it's inhumane and grossly immoral and leads to the cost of a lot of innocent lives doesn't even enter the calculation.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't even go through their mind at all. I know. This is what
go on to the next one. Click up to 14. Go up further here.
Okay.
No, wrong page. Wrong page. Next, go down.
Down.
Or was that where we needed to pick up?
Yeah, we're here at.
Okay, Taylor, go ahead. Don, Taylor, it was decided that Operation Mongoose would have no target date. Go ahead.
Okay. Do we want to pick it up at 15?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We're almost done.
Okay. At the special group augmented meeting of April 12, 1962, it was also decided that a review would be conducted in August 1962, quote, of the progress made and of the long-range objective, unquote, of Operation Mongoose. On April 13th, 1962, Maxwell Taylor reported on Mongoose to, quote, higher authority, unquote, in parentheses, President Kennedy. It was decided that Operation Mongoose would have no target date.
By the way, just a comment in passing, Chauncey Hope named it Operation Mongoose.
There you go.
Go ahead.
The memorandum of the meeting with, quote, the higher authority states, Taylor was informed that we would have to live with the consequences of no date, doing the best we can to bolster motivation. Taylor commented that we can probably carry out the first phase as planned with a review of the situation about August 1. 16. On July 10, 1962, General Lansdale distributed a guideline for the post-Castro political program prepared by the State Department to members of the special group augmented. According to General Lansdale, quote, it sketches in the general boundaries of Cuba with which the U.S. could live in peace and is only the first step in the political work of having a Cuban platform created by Cubans upon which the Cubans can rally for the overthrow of the Castro communist regime.
I just want to interject here, Jim. We've seen this term here that I had never seen before. Special group augmented, okay? Now, obviously, these are the big kahunas, in this whole scheme here, just short of the president, okay? And we never get a definition of who is included in the special group augmented. You have any comments on that, Jim?
Well, it's just showing the profound involvement of the highest ranking governmental figures who are actually calling the shots with disposing of Castro by any means that they can take that won't have excessive costs of the standing of the United States as in its leadership of the world. And
at the expense of any innocent lives.
That doesn't figure here. They don't care. That doesn't matter whatsoever.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable. I don't know that I have ever seen that term before in documents. Special group augmented. It seems like to be a special clique here of individuals.
Well, it just means they had an original special group, you see, and then they augmented it by adding a couple of key players. So that was just a formality as to how they designated the group.
Right. I agree. Yeah. So basically, Gary, are we almost out of time here? I think we are, right?
Yeah, just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, well, basically, this is one of the new documents that have come out that not only reinforces the whole concept of U.S. intervention into Cuba, but it gives you so much more detail, which we had never known before. I think, and like I said, there are many documents like this. You just have to go in there and look at them. And
Yeah.
some of the stuff that we have looked at here today is just disgusting as far as I'm concerned. But then again, it's business as usual, you know, in the way, knowing, you know, how the U.S. as it is today.
Yeah,
And,
can't you hear them now saying, you know, we can do a fake shooting, you know, shoot up a school, you know, and then we'll get public sentiment and all that.
Sure. It's the same mindset, Gary.
I think it's a
But now it's directed at manipulating the American people into giving up their rights under the Second Amendment.
Well, and also this is a precursor, Jim, of what we're living through today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they declared war on us.
Yeah.
All we had to do is take out Cuban and put in Americans now, and this whole document is relevant today, and just on steroids. It's just intensified.
You know, Northwoods. We knew about Operation Northwoods. Okay.
But that was like old. You thought, oh, yeah, that happened a long time ago.
But my point is that now you're seeing, you know, so much more detail as far as, you know, how far they were willing to go, you know, in taking out Castro and all these false flag operations. You know, it's just unbelievable here.
All right, in the very end, why were they wanting to take out Castro so badly? So they could get all the corporate casinos?
Yeah, of course.
That was the cover story. I don't think they really did want to take out Castro, because if they really wanted to, they could have.
I just don't know.
I mean, okay, well, I mean, just look at what you see. Okay, so if they were so hell-bent on removing Castro, how did he stay in power for, 60 years?
Well, that's because Castro had a lot of support, you know, throughout the world. You know, it wasn't.
Well, how many regimes?
The best security teams ever.
Okay, well, what about Saddam?
Donald has a likewise comparable incompetence team securing him.
So I think the media has a lot to do with this, Jim, because how they present, you know, the whole Castro regime in the eyes of the media towards the United States.
Well, how many governments have been overthrown by the CIA since 1963?
Oh, many.
Yeah, now it's our government they're overthrowing now. So, all right, fellas.
They did it in 1963, November 22nd, Gary.
Right,
Well,
there it was.
Yeah, but they declared war on the American people. All right, Don, Jim, Larry, appreciate everything. This has been JFK Show number 188. Great work, Larry.
All right.
Okay, man. See you guys later. Great show.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade.
That's what we were told. Most Americans never believed Lee Oswald was the lone gunman, for excellent reasons. In fact, there were at least 6 shooters who fired from 8 to 10 shots or more who are identified here. We have, finally, the solution to the greatest murder mystery in history, laid out for the world to see, proof after proof after proof. Photos were faked, the body was changed, x-rays were altered, the home movies were fixed. 15 experts contribute to a 529-page book with 1,037 photos and diagrams in black and white and color.
Hi, this is Gary King. If you'd like JFK, who, how, and why, and would like to support the new JFK show, then go to patriotradiobooks.com. That's patriotradiobooks.com.